So, hello everyone. Thank you for being as much as you are right now. Yeah, just small detail. Some of you already came here before for the Paris Dribble meetup. So it's basically the same event. We just ditched Dribble from the name because it was not enough inclusive, and we're not talking only about UI, but about UX and a lot of all the branches of design. So, for who know what's Algolia? If you can raise your hand, roughly. Okay. So for those who don't know what's Algolia, Algolia is basically a search as a service company, which means that we index the data of our customer in the JSON format, and then we allow everyone to, your company, to look into this data to search for it using a lot of API clients for both back and front end. So you can use Algolia with JavaScript, PHP, Swift, whatever you name it, and we have an integration for it. So in the end, it will create an efficient search experience, and it will provide features out of the box, such as typo tolerance, synonyms. We provide analytics and a lot more cool features that you will dream for. So basically, Algolia is like a search done right. It's relevant, scalable, it's really fast, and we have more than 5,000 companies like Stripe, Lacoste, Medium, and Twitch, and a lot other companies. So tonight, for the Paris for the Paris Design Meetup, we'll have in the order Léa Mendes from Evrod, Jérémy Réveillé from Spring Interactive, and Nicolas Torres from Algolia. So without further notice, we will start with. Oh yeah.
Sorry, a quick further ado. I'm Sasha, I'm the product design team lead here. And I just want to say that we're hiring. So if you want to join our amazing and talented product design team, please apply online and we'll be happy to talk to you. Thanks. Okay, sorry.
No problem. And last thing, if you want to tweet or post pictures or whatever, can you please use the hashtag Paris Design Meetup? That will help us getting content for a newsletter and stuff like this. So we will start with Léa, that will talk to us about bring your design team and skills to the next level. So please, a big round of applause for Léa. T'as besoin de juste celui-là? Oui.
Okay, hi everyone. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for being there. Okay, so I'm here to talk with you about how to bring your design team and skills to the next levels. In fact, I joined Everroad, which is a startup, last year, and I was the only designer at this moment. I replaced the one who left, and I started to hire. We grow super fast, and I started to build my own team. And I thought it could be interesting for two kinds of public: the designers who are trying to apply in other companies and who wants to know how do we think when we are the one who hire the designers. What are the choice we do, why we do this kind of choice, what kind of profile we are looking for. And I thought also it could be interesting for those of you who are lead designer or head of designs and who need to hire a team and scale the team. It can be interesting to see how the others do. So it's my way to work, of course, and if you disagree with this, well, super, just raise your hand, let's talk about this. I'm super curious to have some feedbacks. So, sorry, spoil. So just to give you a bit of context, I joined Everroad last year, but we are a startup and we have 2 years old. We are pretty young. We are a solution who connects shippers with carriers, which means that we work with companies who have merchandise they want to deliver all around Europe, and they are looking for trucks, and we match them with companies who have trucks and can deliver the merchandise, so it's pretty simple. but it's a kind of disruption in this world because in the freight forwarding industry, everything is super old school. So the challenge in UX are super high. We raised 16 million last year, so that's why we grow so fast. We were 20 people when I joined Everroad, and now we are 65 people, and we should be a bit more than 100 people by the end of the year. So maybe I will have to hire more designers then. So I will do this presentation in two parts. First part, I will explain you how I build my team, sorry. And then second part, I will give you a little takeaway, a short exercise that we do weekly at Everroad to scale our skills in UX. So here is the way we are organized today. We are in the top management. We are 3 of us from the tech team. CDO, me, Chief Design Officer, our CPO, Chief Project Officer, and our CTO. So we work, the 3 of us, together, hand in hand, and each of us has her own responsibility. My responsibility is the global design. And by this, I mean the global user experience that our users or our customers can live with Everroad. So it means that in my team, we have brand designers because the experience, the user experience or the customer experience starts from the first touch point, and it starts before arriving on the project interfaces. So we start to build this together with our brand designer, our branding, our marketing. And also in my team, of course, there are project designers who work on UX and UI, and I will explain you why after I hire this kind of profiles. And also a user researcher. So it's pretty classic, this kind of organization, but I guess speaking with other companies, that is super new in the French tech to see a CDO at the same level as a CPO and to see CDO, CPO, CTO working together hand in hand in the board. So we are super lucky. It's a chance to do so because at Everroad, design is super important, and I have the luck to be super free to choose the way I want to build my team. So what happened in 1 year since I joined Everroad? I was the only one, and I started to work on building a user-centric culture because the lack of expertise that we needed at Everroad was in UX because we are a B2B solution. So our interfaces are pretty simple. Our user interface design is pretty simple. It's a simple design system that we are building right now. But the process, the user flows, the interaction are super complex. So UX is super important. And to build a good user experience, I had to do a lot of evangelization because the people in the company wasn't super ready. They didn't really know what UX meant at this moment. So it took a lot of time and energy to explain what UX is about and how to work in a lean UX process, what Double Diamond organization is, how to do so. And also doing evangelization, working on a design system, we had to work on the project. So it was the common life of working in a project company. But the challenge at the same time was that when I joined Everroad, the founder told me that, hey, you know what, in 2 weeks we will raise 16 million euros. So for now we don't have the money and we will change our name and you have to do the rebranding in 2 weeks without money. So go, let's go. So of course it was impossible. So that's why the first designer I hired was a brand designer. So she helped me to build up this identity and to make all the declinations. And we were just the 2 of us the time to start to build the first bricks of the team. And then few weeks ago, we started to welcome lots of people, because 3 people in a team of 2 is lots of people. So we have 3 designers who are currently joining us. Well, 2 project designers and a user researcher. So here is the part that I think could be interesting for you. This is not my idea. It's something I saw in in a conference at Flupa UX Day. Flupa UX Day is an annual conference about UX, and it was a few years ago. So I'm sorry for the woman who talked about this because I don't remember her name, but I just remember that she was at Shopify. So I guess she was one of her many lead designers or head of design or head of head because they are super huge. But she said something that was super interesting, is that building a design team is like doing masonry. So imagine that you have profiles who are like cement and profiles who are bricks. And you want to build a wall, and this wall will represent the level of your team in design. So here, for example, is my profile. I am a T profile, which means I can do a bit of many skills in design, but I have a competency stronger in UX and in user researcher. But I can do UI design, web design, brand design, because I did visual design and web design before. So I absolutely not the best in UI or in visual design, but I have the skill enough to start building an identity and to start alone at Everhood. But of course, when the rebranding arrived, the first person I had to hire was someone who would have skills complementary with mine. So I hired Alison, and she's junior, but she has super skill and super potential in branding, web, UI. And because we are a project company, the most important challenge and value for us was to work in UI design and in UX. UI first because we had to deliver a lot and to build our design system to be able to win in productivity. So then Gauthier joined us, and here is his part. And okay, so now you see that we have a lack of user research and UX skills, which I told you is the best challenge that we have at Everroad. So I just hired a senior designer that have strong skills in user research, UX design, but also can do a bit of everything. So this is the T profiles, and T profiles are good to start to build a team because they can work in a project end to end, from the discovery to the delivery, and I will go deeper inside with this. But they have a weakness that they are good in everything, but they are expert in nothing. So if you want a team with a good expertise, and if you want a team with a super good level, you need experts also to help your T profiles, who are the cement, to build this perfect wall of skills. So we can imagine that maybe later I will hire someone who could bring super skills in our branding. I don't know, someone who would do videos or motion design or illustration, or we can imagine someone focus on our .com when it will become to be super huge. Or yesterday our user researcher just joined us, and she will help us being focused full-time on the user research. So that's my target. My target is to be super good in everything, but with a team who would have complementary skills. And the magic in this kind of organization is that the T profile won't be frustrated to not being experts, because that's not what we are expecting from them in the company. What we ask them is to be competent in the full flow, in the full workflow of project design. And the ones who are experts shouldn't be frustrated to not knowing other skills, because what we are expecting from them is their expertise. And so everyone should shine with her own competencies, her own skills on the team. And so why T profiles? Because that's the way we do project at Everhood. We follow the double diamond process, which is pretty common to make project. So we start with an insight, a problem to solve, a business goal, anything that should need to start a project to improve our product or create a new product or a new service. And so we start the discovery, which means we will do user research, user interviews, user testing of the existing product. It can be checking the data, working with our growth or BI team. It can be making a benchmark of our competitors, anything that can help you to understand the market and can help you to understand the users and the needs and what you should do. But when you start with the discovery and you open the scope, you can imagine so many things to improve so that you can never stop to do your research or to try to understand this. So then you have to define a scope. And the scope is, okay, in all of this kind of topics we should work on, because it's better for our business or our user, anything, we will define this scope. And once your scope is defined, here you have the scope of the solution you should work on, and then you go to the execution part, which is the most common of this, the one who everybody know what it is. It's doing design, prototypes, iterating on it, doing user tests on it, and then you deliver to the company specification, design specification, high fidelity mockups, and you work with the developers on doing the final project. So what is super interesting in the double diamond process when you are head of design and you want to build a team is the parallel with the level of designers. And it didn't blow my mind at first. I didn't know that, but I heard a podcast on lafrenchtouch.fm, so you should recommend it to you a lot, so you should listen to this. And there were Julien Pelletier, the head of design at Itch, who were interviewed, and he talked about this idea, that this notion that the double diamond process is a mirror of the levels of the designers. And so when you are a junior, you start with the delivery. So if someone, a project manager for example, give you a problem and you have to find the solution, the juniors will start by doing the mockups and running on building a solution. And when you start to be a bit more experimented in design, as project designer, you will start to want to understand what your users experiment on your solution. So you will start to do iteration on your prototypes, testing it with the users. Maybe you will start with doing a workshop of ideation, start with a bit of design thinking, etc. And when you are a senior designer, here you have a profile who is super similar to a project manager. You can imagine a project manager who could design also, because a senior project designer, for me, this is my definition, should be able to understand the problem to solve, the impact he's gonna have on the business, and how to understanding it. And he should be able to run all the discovery, the defining scope, and the execution steps. So here is the idea. It's not mine, but I just told it to use it. And I built the career path based on this idea. So that's why for my team, and to start, I hire T profiles, because they will be the cement. And also they will be able, growing step by step, to take all this flow by themselves. But there is one last thing, that hiring a super project designer, someone who can do UX and UI is good, but we are in the tech, and we do super cool job, and UX is super fashion, and it's super easy, because so many people like this in interviews, to feel super strong and to be super proud of ourselves, And there is an idea in Lean UX. We work on Lean UX, and I won't explain what Lean UX is, but just go on internet, look at it. It should deserve an entire talk about it. But this is super good methodologies to work with small team. You work fast, you test a lot your solution or your ideas, and you try to unrisk a maximum your ideas before launching in on the market. And the idea is to working lean, working fast, but working better based on UX, and being always user-centric. And when you work on Lean UX, the idea that you can be a project designer, but you can have also a super appetite for the project management. You can be a project manager and be super good in development. You can be a developer and be super sensitive to the quality of UX. So in Lean UX, you work in small teams and everyone is part of the conception, and you work together with your team, and everyone is here to be responsible of the final UX that you will deliver. So if you hire someone who is an elite, someone who is a genius, who is super good and who knows this, the risk with that is that genius, they don't share. They don't share their knowledge. They don't share their competencies. They will shine over the others, and it will start to break down the team collaboration, and it's super risky in terms of management. So I've met in interviews people who were super good, but I just knew that if they came in my team, they will break down all the relationship that we are starting to build based on trust and on solidarity. So for me, being humble and bold is two things that you can have, and that they are so more important. So I prefer to hire someone who maybe will be a junior, but with a super potential and enough humility to make training and to try to rethink himself, herself all the time, than hiring someone who is already super good but know that and think that you don't need to go forward this. So here is the second part of my talk. Now you know how I built my team, and so we need to scale our UX skills, and all the time it will never end. We will have to become better and to learn more, and me as manager, as head of design, and all of us as a designer or user researcher. So here is my team currently. So this is our current level, and if you don't pay attention to mine, what happens is that you see how lacking UX we have. So this is the most important for me for the moment. We need to improve our UX skills because I need to go on holidays, so I need to leave a few days, and so they need to be able to run UX by themselves. So we do this exercise weekly. It's an exercise that I used to do in my precedent job at PrestaShop, and we train with this a lot. It's a 45-minute challenge, and it helps you to train your brain to think in a user-centric way. No matter you are a user, a UX designer, product designer, UI designer, a project manager, no matter what, I think it can be interesting for any person who want to work on projects or on tech team. So it looks super simple. You start with a challenge. It can be anything. I don't know. I want to use my GIF in any device I use daily. Try to find a solution or a service to do so. I want to communicate with my grandma, and she can hear and she can't walk and she can't use a smartphone. Find a solution to do so. I want to help refugees when they come. They don't know how to start when they arrive in a country because they don't speak the language and they don't know which association can help them. Find a solution to do so. So the idea is always to use technology to build a service or a solution to something. So you start with a challenge, and so it's an exercise to do with a group. Someone give you the challenge and he will challenge you, and then you have to take it and to try to find the solution. So you start with your persona, and you start by understanding his socio-demographic information, facts, behavior, habits, needs, goals, etc. And it's not an exercise to do, it's not a Canva you have to do 1, 2, 3 in a steps like this. It's more than you will start to work on your persona, and then you have an ID and you will not the ID, and then you will focus on his facts and behavior, and you start to think, oh, okay, so the flow should be like this, and maybe the experience I should build should work like this, and then you start to note in all your whiteboarding, and by the end, you should end with a user flow, and this is the most important part, because if you run on the solution without doing a user flow, you have the risk to build something who doesn't work in the context of your persona. So here is the kind of thing we do in 45 minutes. So it was my grandma exercise. So you see here she is, and we work on. She was on her sofa in front of the television, and when I called her, she couldn't pick up the phone, or she even didn't hear the rings. So we needed to find a solution to let her in front of her television when I tried to contact her. The challenge was this: I want to contact my grandma. How can I communicate with her? And so we imagine a bracelet. I don't know how to say that. A bracelet. Who could do vibration when I call her, so she didn't need to hear it. And maybe someone she could put on her ears to respond, and it was pretty simple. And we were working on the ergonomy of the button, because she doesn't know how to do tactile or digital things, but she used to the telecommand of the TV, so she knows the ergonomy of the button. So it was super interesting to work on it, but it's just an example. You can imagine anything. So it's a simple exercise, but it's super efficient. I started to train myself as UX designers a lot with my team at PrestaShop with this exercise, and it's super efficient. And also, it's super cool to create team building, because you are together and you learn how to do good critiques, good feedbacks, and think together in a group. Before finishing, just a few books that I recommend you a lot. Lean UX is my Bible, so I have a fully unconscious biases, or maybe conscious biases. For me, it's super interesting. You don't have to follow like a sheep, you know, but you should read it. Just read it and let me know what you think about it. The Moment of Clarity is a book about companies like Lego, Adidas, many great, super big companies who were blocked in their strategy. So it's about strategy and how they solve your toughest business problems with human sciences. So it's amazing to read, super interesting. To practice, I recommend you value proposition design and sprint design. But the ideas, for me, it's my way to work. I like to take a lot of exercise to take the inspiration, and after that, building my own workshops regarding the project I'm working on or the team I'm working with. But it can give you lots of ideas to work in a collaborative way. And the last but not least, the Mom Test. It's a super tiny book, but super interesting to know how to run user interview without biases. So I told you almost everything. Just before ending this presentation, I just joined Hexagon UX. The team is here. And woo! So we are, Hexagon UX is an organization that exists in many other countries in the world. It comes from SF, and the idea is to promote the women in tech and mostly in design. And so we are currently organizing talks and events who will come in the coming months. So we are looking for speakers, female and men speakers. We try all the time to mix females and males on stage, but as you know, it's super difficult to find female speakers in the tech, so that's why I'm talking about it. If you are a male or a female and you want to talk about your job, write us. If you are a female, write us most. And that's it. Thank you.
So thank you, Léa. That was super nice. And so if you have questions, raise your hand. We will give you the catch box, which is a box that you can throw. Oh, I got it right now. So is anyone having a question? Yeah, first row.
Thank you. I have a question about the whiteboarding framework game. I'm not sure when exactly do you play this game?
Okay, so we do it during the team lunch, the time lunch, but in team lunch, every Fridays. So it's optional. If someone has something else to do, of course, he or she can do anything else. But for the moment, everyone was all the time here with us. And we invite also project managers or anyone in the company who would participate. It's open. Because it's a good exercise also to do evangelization.
Thank you.
Yes, hello. Question. You have the organization with chief design officer and the other ones. So you're telling like you have been lucky. So why you have been lucky, and how come could we be lucky also?
Okay. It's luck and not luck, because in fact I fighted a lot to have this place. But when they hired me as a manager of UX and UI, and they didn't really know what it would look like. But it was okay for me because my job wasn't super clearly defined, and because the chief project officer didn't joined us at this moment. I was the only one with the engineering team, so I was free to run my own organization. And because I have a profile a bit between project management and design also, it was easy for me to start doing my own organization, and so this helped me a lot. But also, when they started with Everode, they started to work with conviction, mostly founder conviction. You know the thing when your CEO, your founder, has an idea and he thinks that he's the best project manager of the world, or he's the designer, or worse, he's the user. And so he say, okay, as myself, I think it doesn't work, so we should do a different way. And you hear, oh, but look at the data, the user won't understand. I don't care because I am the user, so it's pretty common. But they do like this. They did like this at Everode first. So our founder had many convictions, and it failed a lot. And they built some interfaces, and it didn't work, and they didn't know why. They knew that they had problem with UX, but they didn't know how to solve it. They built a mobile app, and it didn't work, and they thought, oh, but other competitors did it, and it worked for them, so why don't it work for us? And so the evangelization about the need of UX was already done for me when they hired me, because they knew that they had a problem, but they didn't know how to solve it. So it's super easy when you are the only one who can talk about UX in a company to say, okay, you want to do it well, we should do it like this or like that. So I was opportunist, and I started to place my own strategy to take my place. And then I was lucky because the chief project officer joined us. He comes from Uber, Benjamin Chinot. And at Uber, the designers and the project manager work together, and there is a head of design working with a head of project. So for him, it was a pretty common organization. So he thought it would be normal to work together hand in hand. So also, this was the part of the luck who helped me, because if we had a CPO who would join us and said, oh, I will be his boss or her boss, it would be dangerous for me, because I wanted I wanted to be part of the board for one reason, is because I didn't want to cut the experience between the design marketing, the brand design, and the project design. And I knew that if I was only in the project team with the project the CPO as a manager, he would keep me just on the project team, and he will cut the experience with the design marketing. So that's why I wanted absolutely a common global scope.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
I guess it's good. You can keep it for the next talk.
For the next one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Léa.
Thank you.
And so now we'll have on stage Jérémy Réveillé for the title of the talk is Designing for Humans. So a big round of applause for Jérémy.
Est-ce que c'est possible de le setup en dual screen ou pas? En dual screen. Parce que j'ai quelques notes sur le...
If you want some beers, there is still some like behind you. We'll provide more after, but feel free to get some right here. Ouais. So we will start. Sorry for the time it took. So we have Jérémy Réveillé for Designing for Humans.
Ça me dérange pas. C'est bon? Test? Does everybody hear me? It's good? Okay. No? Sorry. Oh, come on. Tu peux m'aider?
C'est parfait.
C'est bon là, je suis bien?
Tu es parfait.
Is it better? Perfect. So we are going to start. First of all, so thank you everybody for your applause. I'm Jérémy Réveillé. I'm a product designer at Spring Interactive, and tonight I'm going to talk about designing for humans. So it's a bit generic, but I'm going to explain. As it says, it's an introduction to user experience and user research. That's something that we really value at Spring Interactive, because it's where we can make the most of our project. In fact, we are all humans designing products for humans, okay? And the user is very important in our process, because everybody, or most of us have in a name they are called UX designer, okay? But UX is nothing if there is no users. Problem: there are more than 7 billion of humans being on Earth, so we have to prioritize, and we have to focus on people who are the more likely to use your product. So let's say, okay, that's better, but that's not really really good because we are not going to ask anybody about our product. And the idea is to involve our end users in our product. So let's say we are going to group them, okay? Maybe we can group people in big cities. Maybe we can group people under a certain age, maybe under 30 years old, okay? Etc., etc. And what we're going to do, what we're going to try to do, is to create personas. Everybody is okay with that. What is persona? A persona is like a typology of my users. Okay, it's a fake user based on similarities between all my end users and all the people who are the most likely to use my product. Okay, so what is really a persona? A persona is, okay, a typology of user based on demographic data, maybe someone who lives in a city, someone, for some people who have the same age, the same incomes, etc., etc. But this is not enough because this kind of data are not going to tell me if my user is going to use my product and how he is going to use my product. What is really important to us as designers is to focus on behavior and frustrations. And that's the main point of this talk tonight. As designer, we have to focus as well on business values. It's what I mean, everything that brings value to my stakeholder, to my client, but also, and that's something we tend to forget, our user needs. As designer, we have to bring together our user needs and what's really important to our client, the business value. And to involve the user in our persona, in our process, we have to, we can make quantitative research and qualitative research. The difference between two of us is that in the first one, the qualitative research, we are going to meet this persona and we are going to ask them questions. Okay, how do you use this product? How do you behave on the internet? How do you work if it's a SaaS, for example? And quantitative research is a bit different because we are going to send a big questionnaire online, for example, and we are going to a lot of people and we are going to bring all the answers to have clusters. You have to, you are going to see the main difference between all your users and where they tend to where they tend to be identical. That's it. You can do user research before starting a project, in your project, and at the end of your project. The idea is to measure yes, the effect of your work on the product. When you start to work on a product, whatever it is, maybe a redesign, for example, your client comes with this problem. My product is not used by my users. And you are going to say, okay, I have the idea, I know what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to redesign it with the last trendy colors, the last trendy font, typo, sorry, and it will be very smooth with a lot of details. And okay, that's great, that's beautiful, but how can you make the difference? How your product is better than the first one that you have in the first place? And this answer you can have it by asking people, by asking users. Sorry, just let me check my notes. Okay, user research, as I said, is like a a reality check. Okay, as a designer, we live in a in like a bubble. Okay, we design in front of our desk, and we work all day long and go back to home, and then the same thing happens the next day. But what happens if I bring my product in front of real people? What happens when I ask them, do you find this useful? Do you find this interesting? Do you find this, will you use it? Is it interesting for you? And that's how you can understand what your user really needs. But be careful, because what your user needs is different than how they tell you. Just let me explain. Imagine someone tell you, okay, well, I will probably use this feature. Yeah, it sounds cool, great. Okay, but nothing tells you that he will use this feature. Nothing tells you that he will do it. Okay, he's just speculating. Okay, yes, I may use it. Maybe it's cool. Okay, it's worthless. Okay, you have to see how he interacts with your product, how he use it, what is useful for him. And that's how you can understand what is really valuable for your user, the user needs. Otherwise, all of these are just assumptions. And assumptions are nothing more than, best practice in the best case, and is the worst case is just, it's nothing but ideas you come up with. Okay, so as I said, asking your user is not enough. Okay, you have to understand how he uses his product, how he interacts with it, and making personas, making qualitative research, quantitative research is not enough. It's not perfect too, okay? It's not like a magic recipe and everybody who's going to do user research is going to have a perfect product and be the next Facebook, Twitter, or whatever. But it pops the bubble you're in when you are designing, because you have to conflict yourself with the reality, okay? With the reality of what users need. For example, recently we worked for Loxam, which is like Kiloutou. They rent materials, like they'll rent products for professional, okay, and they're using an app, okay, for people working there, okay, and we had to redesign this app, and we came with an idea, with a lot of ideas, and we made user research, we made qualitative research, and we asked these people, do you find this useful? How do you find it? Can you use it? Can you understand what's happening? Everyone was like, okay, that's great. But I don't understand what's on the homepage, what's on the home screen. Okay, why? Because that's not how we work. Okay, so how do you work? And then you engage conversation, you talk with them, you understand what they really need, what's really important for them, and you can put it on your next design. And that's how you can bring a useful product to life. User research is not only making big research with tinted glass and a lot of users in front of you. You can do it by asking the marketing team, for example. You can go, if you have a marketing team where you work, you can ask them, what does my user do? Well, I think it's English. Well, you understand, you get the point. Who are they? Who are the people interacting with my product? What's frustrating for them? Where do they stop? Where do they block? and they can give you insights, and you can mix them with insight you get from people you ask, as you are the personas. As I said before, UX without users is nothing. If you just focus on design and well, if you focus on making your stakeholder happy, all you're going to do is, well, best practices. And if you make none of the business value or the user needs, you are just like an artist, an artist, because you are designing for yourself and you're making what's important for you. That's not how we work. That's not what's important for us. Some of things you will ask to your users are, well, not really relevant. You will not ask to your user, do you find the color of your My button useful? Do you think the sell button or the buy button should be red? That's nonsense, okay? There are some best practices that your user cannot answer to. Users are very pragmatic, okay? They cannot project themselves in the future, okay? They can say, they can make up an opinion about your product. They can say, oh yeah, that's very good. I definitely see myself using, but yeah, that's just word. That's worth nothing. And you have to, as I said before, understand what he said and how he said it, how he used it. What is he really doing in user testing? Well, sorry, that's a bit confused. I'm a bit stressed and I'm not very well à l'aise in English, but I made it. Just to conclude, I will say that experience is not only about, it's not only the UX designer responsibility, it's the responsibility of everybody in the team, okay? Stakeholders, marketing teams, sales teams, designers, etc., etc., etc. And you have to bring them together to create products that are really valuable. Well, I'm finished. Thank you very much, and I have the question.
So same as earlier, if anyone got questions, raise your hand.
Yes.
Thank you for the talk. First of all, I'd like to say your English is better than you think.
I hope so.
It's actually pretty good. I have a question. You said you have to understand that people sometimes say things but they don't mean them, that you have to understand. How do you define what they will actually do and what they will not? How do you distinguish between someone saying yes, I will use it, and someone that will actually use it? So
okay, it's simple. If your user says something like yes, I will maybe use it, or yes, I will use it in the future, you can be sure that it's worthless. You can't make a design or a screen or a product based on that, because he didn't test it. He don't know. He cannot. He's not a designer. I mean, he cannot project himself as we do in our daily life. Okay, so you have to figure it out. You have to test it with him, and you have to come up with maybe a prototype, something to show him, show it to him. If he said something like, yeah, I had the problem last time and it will definitely help me, well, it's based on experience, so you can make the assumption that it will probably help me. But in any case, you have to be careful on what users say, because they can say a lot of things. They can say things just to make you happy or to not being mean. So you have to keep it in mind and try it with a lot of people to be sure.
And I had another question.
Yes, please.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, you said there were some parts that you can't ask the user about directly, like what color button to use or what size. How do you know those things then if you don't know the user?
Yeah, users can answer about what's important for them. And it's like something like how they work. You can ask them, how do you work in your daily life? What's your job? What do you do in a day? And he can help you on things like that, like how you can improve his decisions, how you can improve his activity, how you can improve his daily life, his choice, etc., etc. Everything that's about colors, button, or best practices is the job of the designer.
To observe. Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions? Okay, nice. So thank you.
Okay.
And so now we'll have Nicolas Torres from Algolia that will explain us the relationship between designers and developers. And big round of applause for him.
Sorry about the noise, can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you everyone for being there tonight. I'll be ready. So yeah, the exact title of my talk tonight is Teaming Up with a Designer as a Developer. So I'm Nicolas. I'm a software engineer here at Algolia. And a little bit of context to start with before that. So I work in a squad that we call internal tools. Internal tools is basically just making automation and custom apps for all the other teams to improve their efficiency, like to automate whatever we can automate, like daily tasks or whatever. And as the company grows, we are more and more in need of a designer assigned to our squad. And so we asked for a designer, and we had one. And designer time is really precious. Like the designer assigned with us is assigned to other squad. And in order to be efficient and to deliver the products that we need to deliver, we need to optimize the time of work, like the time when we work together. So in the middle of that, I had a side project that I wanted to do. That side project basically is just a news screen that I display on all these screens, and that we display on all the screens across all the offices. And the goal is to connect the offices. And this TV will show just like what happened this week. What is happening this week at Algolia. So demo first, so you can understand the rest of the talk. So this is the screen. Loading. We have welcome to the team. So the newcomers, these are the newcomers of last week. We have a live Slack. We have pagination. We have the time zone of all the offices. So the pagination taking effect. I use this time to take a break. Then we have other stuff like Algolia anniversary, which is basically like how many years you've been in the company. Then we have the birthdays. We have the events of the week. So before you came on the TV was like Paris Design Meetup. We have also the latest job offers. And if I remember correctly, yeah, on-site presentation. On-site is like when we have a candidate coming for interviews, they make a presentation and everyone is welcome to assist to that presentation. So this is like the time of the on-site, so everyone knows about it. So, what was the approach to build this? Before even I asked the designer, I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know what it would look like, and I didn't care at all, because this is the design job. But I didn't want to come up just with an idea, because it was a side project and time is precious again. So I came with more than an idea. Sorry. I came with data. I came with, I did all the backend research, like, okay, what data can I collect that is relevant to be displayed on that screen? I listed all, and I came with all the data. And I came to the designer saying, okay, this is what all you have available. And he said to me, yeah, cool, but I need you to be more precise. So I went to Google Slides. I'm not a designer, but I went to Google Slides and did like the list of each details for each screen and all the rules for displaying this. Like even giving an example of the density of the data, etc. And I did that for all the data that I had. And I also built on top of that, like the ticker, the thing will, I call it the ticker, so it's not really, how to say that? Explanatory, but the ticker is like the progress. And it's just the mechanism, like turning the slides, etc. And I built this and I said, okay, so this is what you have. You have all the details of all the data, all the rules for the display, etc. And you have that ticker, which basically you can subscribe to, and you can register events based on the duration of the slides, etc. So he had all the tools he needed to do the design. Then came the design phase. So we were designing for TV. There was no need for responsive or whatever, but our main concern was like, okay, TV ratio often varies. Sometimes it's 16 by 9, sometimes it's 21 by 9, whatever. So we had to make it like fluid horizontally. But at this time, he didn't care either. He didn't care either because that would be my job, to make it fluid. I'll come to that later. So he used a tool called Zeppelin. And Zeppelin, I don't know if you know it, but you should. Zeppelin provides like really useful values. And the thing is that when the design came up, when I saw the design, I had already all the values I needed to work. So this helped us like skipping a part where he should have written like everything, like the measures, the margins, the color hexadecimals, etc. So I had everything I needed to work. Yeah, next slide is, yeah, no, okay. So when the implementation time came, what I had also done before that is read all the design guidelines that the designer provided us. So we could speak the same language, and everything that was there I would understand. So instead of implementing and going to him, I implemented it live, adding all the animations that he didn't talk to me about. I put all the animation, I did the free layout, I did the free typography. I did everything that I could do without his help. And I came back to him like sitting here in these chairs, showing him the live demo on these TVs and saying, okay, this is what we got. What should we do to improve it? Is it okay for you? Let's make a live review. And it took us like 10 minutes to figure out, okay, what to improve. Like the animation were too long, they were a bit boring. The duration of the slide were too short, a few stuff like this. And also the color scheme wasn't great. So we did also an iteration on the color scheme, live, both of us. And it took, seriously, a few minutes. And then we deployed it. We put it live here. And we were on the feedback phase, like the live feedback phase from the users. And what came out is like, oh, sorry, never. To do that feedback loop, to save his time, I just sat over there one day, full day, sitting there, and having the people coming by, looking at the screen and saying, yeah, this is cool. And, sorry. With all the humility I can have. They say like, yeah, this is cool. It's a fact. And they turn to me and say, okay, now we could change this. I would have seen this better that way. Yeah, maybe have a look twice at this, whatever. I get the feedback for the designer. The day after, I went back on these chairs with the designer and have the live demo again, and saying, okay, this is the feedback I got, what can we do now? And what do you need to do on your side? And the only feedback he had to redesign was the pagination. The pagination at first looked like this, which was based on items, number of items, like 3 is for the 3 events we have, 6 is for the total of items. It's not really understandable, legible, at first sight at least. And so he took the time to redesign it. But the overall all the other feedback we had took, again, 10, 15 minutes to be applied. So what I would say is we try to minimize the back and forth. So we both had time to do it where there was no time at first. And to minimize it, what we did, both, is so to document the data and the rules, to auto-convert UI into values with Zeppelin, make a demo, and do live changes, sit together, observe, sitting there, observing people, usage, and yeah, anticipate and communicate. So communicate is not about how long you communicate, but just about how efficient is your communication. So to conclude this, I would just say it's best when you try to understand your colleague's job and empower them to focus on it. And this is what we both did, and this is how we made this happen, because otherwise we couldn't make it happen. Well, thank you for your time. So yes, any question?
No? Nobody got questions? It was interesting.
Question.
So you said about micro interaction, with the cards flipping. So that's you who designed that, in JS or whatever. So how did you design that, the micro interaction, and how did you correct that?
What do you mean by micro interaction?
You know, the tiles moving, stuff like that.
Yeah, the tiles aren't moving exactly, but it's just the animation, the transition between them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And maybe the designer gave you something, or
no, not at all. We didn't speak at all about animation. So what I did is just do a system that was fast enough to be applied on every screen. So it only had vertical animation. And the feedback I got from him is okay, I was more thinking of having between the slides sliding horizontally and inside the slide from the pagination sliding vertically. And I said, okay, yeah, this is too much time. So what we had is I just made the most efficient system possible and said to him, okay, we can tweak it that way. And we tweaked it the best we could with what we had. So it's not exactly how he envisioned it, but we didn't talk about it, and it was fine enough to deploy.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, you pushed and you verified, and that was okay. And
yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, behind.
Okay, thank you.
Oops.
So, as an engineer, which would be your... okay, don't know what's happening. Which would be your advices for designers to make your job easier?
Two things, I guess. 3. First one is empowering the developer. Maybe it's me. It's my mic. I don't know.
It's his mic, but,
So both. Okay. Yeah, turn it off. Better. So first thing is empower your developer with guidelines that are legible enough so they could apply them. Here at Algolia we have a saying about like everyone is a designer potentially. So we have templates, we have color schemes, we have stuff like this, assets, design assets that everyone has access to. So everyone speaks the same language when it comes to design. The second thing is like providing all the values that the designer, that the developer will need. Because too often, I've worked with designer in the past, and too often, like, we have the assets, we have most of the font sizes, most of the typography stuff, but a lot of margin of dimension or how it will look like if it's fluid or whatever. Stuff like that are often missing. So being precise and just exhaustive in what you give to your developer is really really the best tool ever, because if you don't do that, you will have a lot of back and forth. Because implementation is not as direct as we all think it would be. Even as developers, sometimes we just see the design, we just say, yeah, we have everything we need, and then when implementing, like 2 days after, we come, oh no, we don't, we need this. So yeah, being as exhaustive as you can. And the last one is trust. I'd say trust your developer, make him like try something, and then have it like fix it live with him, sit with him, her, sorry, whatever. Sit with them and fix it live. That's the best way to do it, I think.
Hey, I have a question regarding your project, because I think it's really, really cool and it could help a lot of companies, I guess. Do you plan on releasing it open source, maybe?
I mean, the data won't be open source. How to say that? It's like really custom made. I don't think it has a value. The only thing that I could open source that would be relevant is what I call the ticker, the thing like running the slides and making the animation, etc. That system I could open source, yeah. Could be possible. Thanks. Thanks for the input. Let's think about it.
Any other questions? Yeah. Can you give the mic to the person? Thanks.
Thanks for the presentation. How often do you have some side projects like this?
Oh, I don't know. I've been there for 1 year at Algolia, and it's been like maybe the second one. Yep.
And everyone has one?
Not everyone, but we encourage this. Like I asked my starting after this project, I asked my my tech lead to like free me half a day per week to do side projects. I've used that time until now to work because I didn't have side project, but anytime I need, I can like unlock some time and work on side projects. So yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. So thank you for being here. Last round of applause for Nicolas.
Thank you.
And so now behind you, you can find thousands of pizzas and beers and everything. So go enjoy your evening, and thank you.